All right, we are coming back. We are on day 6. No, we are on day 7. Day 7 of our dragon eye. Here is what mine is looking like so far. So we started building this on day 6. Now that we're on day 7, we're getting to some of the details of it all. Okay, so I've got my eyelids, I've got the background, I've got the eye, but now I want to start adding in some of these detail things. So that's what I'm going to do next. And I did prep my colors in advance, so you don't need to watch me do that part. You already know how to do it. I'm going to start off with these kind of like flame eyelash things that I've got going on. And once again, your dragon eye is different than mine. So like, make yours look the way yours is intended to look. I'm just kind of showing you some ideas for mine. I'm starting off with a slab here. Slabs and coils are kind of like going to be the start of just about everything. I mean, not everything, but it kind of is a good base for most of what we're building here. I do like using these markers, those little rolling pins. It's kind of fun. All right. So now I got that, and you can kind of decide on how thick or thin you want it to be. And you can use whatever tools you've got. If you've, maybe you want to take a fork and like press it in like this and add some actual texture that way. You could do that. For right now, I'm just going to kind of make the shapes. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use my scissors for part of it. Because why not? So I'm just kind of cutting out the basic shape here. And I can, of course, this is pliable, so I can move it as needed. Okay, and then, so for this, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try this. I don't know if it's going to work, first attempt, but I'm going to try just kind of cutting some notches out here. Instead of trying to get like the exact shape, I can always get the exact shape by pinching and altering it that way, right? So maybe I start off this one, something kind of like that, which obviously does not exactly look like this, but now what I can do is take and tweak it, right? Pinch, pull, move. Maybe I chomp a little bit more off there, but get it to look the way you want it to look without having to sit there and try to get it perfect with the scissors or by carving it in with your whatever you've got for tools that you found. Okay, so now that I've got the basics on there, yes, so that wasn't too bad. Kind of add it on there, make it look nice. Those seams look good. Okay, let's see, I'll do one more like that, kind of coming in on this one. This already kind of has the direction I'm looking for. Okay, so coming up and around like that, and we'll snip away pieces I don't need. This one looks especially fiery. Bring that one down a little bit more. And this one has 4 little bits. So once again, that doesn't look like much. That's not really looking like this, but that's okay, because now is when the magic happens. Model magic! And we're going to play around with this. These come a little bit more to a point. Get rid of, there's like a little, for lack of a better word, a little clay booger in there I wanted to flatten out. Sometimes you might need to take tools too to get into some of those tight spaces, so, do what you gotta do. That's looking a little bit better. I want that a little more pointy. Like for example this too, I can't quite get in there with my fingers, but maybe I can take a tool and get in there to just smooth it out the way I want it to look. These are almost reminding me of like on a rooster, right? Kinda. The little, what is that called, a comb, right, on top of a rooster's head. It's giving me those vibes. But I guess to be fair, I've heard that chickens are the closest ancestors to dinosaurs, and I feel like dinosaurs are kind of like dragons, so I guess it would only make sense then that we might have some rooster combs on top. Anyway, you know, I would continue doing this down on the bottom too, adding those in, but you get the basics there. Another feature that I've got on mine are these yellow spikes, which I am definitely running out of room. Like, I think I made my eyelids a little too big, but I'm still going to figure out something. I'm going to make this happen. I've got my yellow here. I think I'm going to start with a coil instead of a slab for this one. And I'm going to get it more of that cone shape, like an ice cream cone. Pinching it into shape here. Maybe I'll just like kind of add it in between these combs. I think that still works, right? I don't know. You guys can play around with yours. You'll also notice that on mine, I've got where it's red on there, which obviously I don't have there. So I've got a couple options. I'll find my red marker. Here it is. I could take my marker, this will be an option for any of those areas, and I can add it after the fact. And you're going to have this option for, you know, any of these spots where you just want to add like a little bit more saturated color. Obviously, when we mix our marker with the, where's that lid? There it is. With the white clay, we're going to get a tint, right? We're getting a tint of it, the color mixed with white. So it's a little more pastel looking. But when we come back in with the marker, it can look a little bit more intense. Maybe I want to add like a black line down here. Now do be careful, because if we make mistakes at this point, you know, we're kind of far into the game. Then we have to figure out how to make that mistake look intentional at that point. So I'm just kind of adding in some markings that I think will look kind of cool. Let me bring that up a little closer. Okay. So let's see next. I've also got these orange dots along that bottom eyelid. I'm also going to use my marker for that. I'm going to use it both to add more intense color and also some actual texture, because I'm going to push it down in. So I'm pushing it in, pushing it in, pushing it in. I'm going to make it a little bit, I'm going to kind of swirl it for these, because these dots are intended to be bigger as they get going there. Swirling it, might need to even actually move it a little bit. Let's see, I think I can fit one more in here. This one I might need to use a bunch of dots to look like a big dot. I might even do another half of one over here to lead up to that one. And it's kind of pressing into the top eyelid, but that's okay. Once again, we'll just make it look intentional. It wasn't. We're going to make it look intentional, and it's all fine. Okay, I'll smooth out those edges a little bit. So you can see how that's coming along. Another thing that I have on here are these scales, which I was thinking like, okay, do I draw those on? Do I like carve them in? How do I do this? Well, how am I going to make that happen? And what I realized, this is kind of a fun little thing. Check this out. That shape right there. Now you might want to practice first on scrap clay, but if I kind of go like this, and I'm only kind of pressing down on half, it gives that scaly look, which I'm like, cool. So that's what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to add scales like that. Once again, I'm trying just to use that half so it doesn't look like a circle. I just want to see the half of it. And that's adding in that actual texture. Can you see that okay? Wow, I feel like that screen's really yellow looking. But anyway, you can see how it's, oh, there we go, that's better. For some reason it's better when it's down lower. Adding that actual texture in there. And I can do this in various places too. You know, maybe I I guess I haven't planned this out, so I shouldn't do too much, but maybe I add in some more dots on here that aren't colorful, but instead are just adding texture, right? I could do that. I don't know. You guys will have to play around with yours. So I'm going to continue to add in, you know, some more of these kind of chicken looking things at the bottom. I'll be adding some more at the top as well. We're going to keep this going until it's done this time. Okay, so our goal would be to finish our first dragon eye, and then we're going to let it air dry out. So I know that seems scary, but like once you're done, let it air dry out. Also photograph it right away. This does look like a toy, right? So if I was a dog, or if I was a sibling or a cousin or whatever, and I saw this, I'd be like, cool, I'm going to play with it. And then that's the noise it'll make, and it's going to get destroyed. So take a photo of it as soon as you're done. Put it somewhere safe to dry. Worst case scenario, though, if something does happen, you've got the photo. So if you have any leftover little bits like I do here, might as well save them. We might be able to use them yet for the second eye. So I'm going to go ahead and put these in a baggie. Of course, I'm actually going to finish this. I'm not done with it, but you also don't need to watch me because you've got your own to work on. So I hope you have fun creating yours. Keep that template, you know, it's not a perfect match here. Also, I'm not done, but you can see that, you know, definitely this inspired that. And that's what we're going for. Obviously, I'm going to want pictures of both those things in your art journal. So get those pictures, get them in your art journal, get going. Oh, and if you wanted to hang this up as a reminder, you can always like poke a little hole somewhere too. I'm not going to be hanging mine up, so that's not a thing for me. But if it is for you, put that hole on in there. All right, we will see you again next time. Have so much fun with this.